Hey listeners, I'm your host, Juan Collado Díaz, and this is Político. Hey everybody, and welcome once again to another episode of Político. I am your host, Juan Collado Díaz, and in this episode, I am honored to have a good friend of mine and also the founder and current CEO of Morphoneogenesis, León Contreras. We are going to be talking throughout this episode about the food and health system of the United States. The United States has this system where they create chemicals and foods that are just made to get people obese or create diseases. And then they have these big pharma companies that are the ones preventing or creating quote unquote medicines to stop those diseases that the own government is creating. So without further ado, welcome León. Can you tell me a little bit about you, Morphoneogenesis, and the work that you do with your amazing company to help the people and educate the people around?
Hi, Juan. Thank you so much for having me here. So, as you were saying, yes, I am a clinical exercise physiologist. I work in Eastside Medical Group currently dealing with neuromuscular rehabilitation for people who have car accidents and they need some of that therapy. In Morphoneogenesis, we work with different people around the world since it's an international company. We work closely with clinical exercise, medical treatment with exercise and diets. We also do some cognitive therapy. We will also work with different athletes, patients. We're trying to target the most vulnerable minorities populations, like cancer patients, the Hispanic patients, Black American patients, LGBT community patients, and all that. We prescribe exercise protocols. We provide diets, and we also provide some health behavioral management.
Right, so thank you for that. So let me start asking you um so we both live in the US and we have both lived outside of the US, so we know that in our home countries, native countries, things are healthier. Our diets are healthier. We eat better foods than what we do here in the US. And it is in a way because the American system has by default created this high fructose corn syrup pandemic, let's call it, or I don't know, like epidemic per se, where they have added chemicals than in many other countries you don't see, but here you see. Do you think do you think then the American like government and the system is promoting this unhealthy foods, and what is the reason behind it?
This is actually a really complex topic, and we need to understand a couple of factors before we go there. First of all, we need to understand that most humans who make food, they make it for the purpose of making money. So it's not necessarily for nutritional value, for natural resources. They're just thinking about how much money can I make out of this. The second thing we need to understand is the implication of that money, because many different businesses can be benefited by the same problem. So, for example, you mentioned the sugar that they added. If I noted that real sugar costs more money than high fructose sugar, I will use high fructose sugar. Not only that, if that can cause diabetes in some people, now the hospitals can make more money because now they have more patients. Not only that, now the pharmaceutical companies can make more money because they have to buy more insulin and other medication. So it's a whole group of entities that are being benefited at the same time. Then the third thing to take into consideration is the most vulnerable minority population. So in these urban areas of Ohio, we know that food is a little bit expensive if you want to buy it fresh. So there are companies that they know this and they just put franchises of fast food and junk food with the excuse that it's convenient for them and convenient for the clients. But in reality, it's just that it's fake food or junk food that has a lot of sugar, a lot of hormones, a lot of chemicals that people will buy it and get addicted to it so they can keep buying it so they can make more profit.
Yeah, and that that makes a lot of sense. So I wanted to go over like that one thing that you mentioned. You just said fast food related, and it's targeting the low income communities here, which it's very common. That was what the most fast food were created back in the day. Eating at McDonald's was poor people food compared to nowadays, which is a little more expensive. Now, that also has to do a lot with this country. Again, as I mentioned, when we go to our native countries, we may go to McDonald's once in like a blue moon, and once we do go to those, it's not the same exact food that we eat here. It's way
Exactly.
different. It's healthier, even though it's a fast food. It's healthier because it's made with homemade products. It's made with less frozen. Um, so going to that, there's sugars, there's fats, and all this stuff. And you mentioned the pharmaceutical companies. So do you think, and also with your studies and your knowledge, how is the pharmaceutical companies using this to their advantage? And is it like, is it affecting the American people more? Is it like helping people somehow, or is it just all bad?
It's a dangerous topic to discuss. I lose my job after this. Well,
Well,
the
let's hope
thing
not.
is, the thing is, um, let's put it this way: the pharmaceutical company is made in a way that they will always make money no matter what. Because you always will need medicine. The problem is the extension of how much medicine and for how long you're gonna be using that medicine. So it is well known that since 2005, maybe before that, we are not training doctors anymore. We are training drug dealers with licenses. Because when you go to medical school nowadays, they just teach you to link between pathology, which is the sickness, and the medicine that is going to fix it. But in reality, that medicine won't fix anything because, first of all, it's not natural. Second of all, it kind of plays with the physiology of the body. Just kind of trick the body to do something that it was not supposed to. And first of all, every medicine always have a secondary effect or a side effect or collateral effect, however you want to call it. So if you have, for example, diabetes, that just means that you have a lot of sugar in your blood. And you either cause that by your behavior, the way you were eating, or you just inherit that. You were just born like that. Maybe your mother, your grandmother, somebody in your family had it, and you just happens to have it. Regardless of it, the treatment is the same. It's diet and exercise. But you don't make money like that. At least you don't make as much money as buying as selling insulin. And I'm not want to say that insulin is not required for diabetic patients. It is required. But how much insulin you use and for how long you use it will always depend upon your diet and your physical activity. If you're not moving enough and you are eating unhealthy all the time, you will use more insulin than somebody who is doing exercises and who's eating healthy. And the pharmaceutical companies know this. So what they do is instead of targeting the patients, they target the people who deal with the patients, and those are the doctors. They grab them when they are young and naive and teach them every time somebody has this pathology, you're gonna give this medicine. The doctor is just gonna do that because that's what he was trained on. And when he becomes a doctor with a lot of experience and credentials and licenses, that's what he's gonna do. Now there is a group of clinicians who's been in this game for a long time. People like me and some nurses that I know, some cardiologists, and some surgeons that they do understand the benefits of exercise. And I know the American College of Sport Medicine even created a movement called exerciseism, in which some licensed healthcare providers can become certified on this and learn how exercise could be implemented into the medical treatment. But of course, the pharmaceutical company don't want that. So what they do as a comeback is either to try and to discredit some of the people who are doing the certification, or either they are telling the patients that it's easier and faster to get this pill, to get this procedure, to get this surgery. And this is where morality comes in. If you're a doctor, do you want your patients to get better or you want to make more money? That's the end of the road. If you want to make more money, maybe you don't want them to be healthy right away. Maybe you want to keep them sick. And that's where the problem comes.
So that is a good way to put it over there. If you want, if you want them to keep coming, you keep them sick. And you mentioned that. And now I'm gonna get into like a little bit of a, like, I would say for listeners, this is in a way a conspiracy, but also a real situation that may be a little bit of I don't know. Let me just say trigger warning here. Um, Strong topic, but do you think then this is wanting then the pharmaceutical companies, the entire U.S. and it's a business, killing people pretty much. You feed them,
Strong word.
you it is a strong word. You know what they feed them. They give this foods, and this goes back to I was mentioning before the podcast to you. Right now, there is an entire protest and lawsuits and stuff against the company Kellogg's, which is the parent company, of all the cereals, and it's a huge like breakfast thing. Most Americans buy cereal. It's the lazy breakfast, I would call it, but not just Americans at home, but also even schools give you cereal, um, and it is full of sugars. But we were looking at other countries. We were looking at Mexico. In Mexico, they have warnings. They have literally warnings instead. This will make you obese if you overeat it. This will, it's most likely to cause cancer. It's most likely to eventually kill you. And they don't put it like that, but they tell you like all these warnings. In the US, there's none of these warnings. You can see it maybe in a small letters, but then you can see all the chemicals in the use. They have like the red 40, or you see like a bunch of other, like, as I mentioned earlier, like high fructose corn syrup. You have artificial flavors, citric acid, all these things, like gum, Arabic and stuff on it, And the real question will be again, um, is it because it's easier? And you mentioned it, it's a business, creating the foods and stuff. But do you think then the government is in a way, and I know this is a horrible question, is in a way involved, and they know that this is happening, and why isn't it allowed? Why aren't doctors and people, approaching it in a way like there's better ways to feed people and better other things?
Okay, I'm gonna answer this question without mentioning no names and pointing out fingers. But I'm gonna put it in a way in which you can draw your own conclusion. Okay? So in America, there is different industries. There is the education industry, there's the medical industry, the fitness industry. Okay, we have the government, which is an industry too, because they make money, and you have the people who make the law, which is the senators, representatives, etc. So imagine I want to sell a drink, but that drink is not selling because it doesn't taste good. So then I put a lot of sugar on it. And we know sugar is a drug. Just like coffee, just like alcohol, sugar is one of the most used drugs around the world. And what makes it a drug? Well, the definition of a drug is any substance that makes a significant change in your body and it becomes addictive, meaning that the body thinks it needs it. So, sugar could be created by the body, but not the proportions that we eat it here in America. So, of course, if I want my drink to be sold, I'm going to put a lot of sugar on it. But of course, I know that there is law that will prevent me from doing too much. But if I have a friend who wants to become a senator, I can pay his campaign. And now he owes me a favor. When he becomes a senator, he makes the law. He can make laws that benefit my business. Then after that, I have another friend who wants to become president. I can pay his campaign too. So once he become a president, he can kind of protect me from the authorities or other senators or even scientists. Well, let's just say I have a friend who's a scientist and he's broke. I can pay his research, but I will ask him that the results can be manipulated to show that my product is good. But let's just say I have a friend who's an educator or a dean He has a college. I can pay him. I can even give him scholarships. So the new generation of dietitians or the new generation of doctors put things in the pyramid of food or put things in their books that will benefit my own company. And if you keep thinking and thinking and thinking, this is just with one person, imagine a group of people, you will realize that at the end of the day, all the industries that I mentioned, they just want to make money. They don't care if it's at the cost of your health or the cost of your life. They just want to make money. And you don't have to be really smart to figure out this. You just have to be in the business long enough. If you think about fitness, okay, you think about personal trainers. What do they want to do all the time? To sell you protein, to sell you um, monohydrate creatine. They want to sell you pre-workouts, post-workouts. Why are they doing that? Supplements, complements, because I just make more money. Some people, they don't need that. Some people, their body can't even handle it. Some people, they don't even know how to use it. But guess what? It makes money. When you're a dietitian, what do the dietitians give you all the time? They don't give you recipes that you can cook yourself. They tell you about supplements and complements that you have to buy, which they're not even legally allowed to do because they're not real medical doctors, but they do. If you think about your doctor, people forgot that they are doctors of medicine, not doctor of exercises. So when you go to a medical doctor, they're gonna give you medicine, aka drugs, because that's what they're trained to do. When you think about school, I'm not gonna attack the educational system of America because I come from there and I think it's really valuable. But there are certain professors, there are certain programs, there are certain schools that I'm not gonna mention that the way they train their healthcare providers is questionable. And why does this happen? At the end of the day, it's money. All begins on money, everything ends on money. So how much money can I make in the short period of time? Because we're all gonna die. That's a universal law. It's just a matter of time. So if I am a person who think about business and I just want to make money no matter what, there'll be some illegal activities involved.
So I have and for this question I'm gonna have to read a lot for you here. I have two cans of product, which name I'm not gonna mention, but they are a carbonated drink just to keep it, and so it pretty much one of them is from the US, the other one is from the UK actually. And this is comparing the horrifying American system with foods. So they both have carbonated water, but one of them, the second ingredient is sugar, and the second ingredient in this one is high fructose corn syrup. And then the other one is real mango juice, and this one goes clarified mango juice from concentrate, caramel color, and sodium. And then, then you go to phosphate, and then you have acids, and then you have natural flavors supposedly. Um, and then you go, caffeine, gum arabic, then you have citric acid, calcium, um, sodium, and EDTA. No idea what that is, but I'm not the medical one here. That will be you. So then I go to the UK product, and it's carbonated water, sugar, caramel color, real coloring products, and then it just pretty much has caffeine and natural flavor. That's all compared to the US. And that's what I was mentioning. We have all these products and have all this different chemicals here, and we talked about it, and you just share the whole situation with schools and how you can pay off, which is pretty much what happens in our system. So what is your with things like this, what will be your recommendation for people to look in foods before buying them, and what is the healthiest like foods and they can purchase themselves?
Well, you know, it's a little bit hard for me to explain why specific things they need because something new that is happening now with American food is that even some natural things are being modified genetically or they are being added with things. And I'm afraid to say oh, you should buy more tomatoes, and then you go and buy those tomatoes, and you get sick. You say, oh, Leon say this, and this is what happened. I would say that you should either create your own food, just like in my country, where we just plant our own things so you know what is there, or you can buy to locals like the Jews or the what's the name of these people that they don't use electricity?
Yeah, like the Amish people
Amish, the Amish
or
people. You should
farmers markets.
farmers market. That's the best option because you do know they're not a big company and they're not even doing this about money. They're just doing it because they either had too much production or they just want to support their family. So that would be the best option in terms of buying food. Now, the products that you should buy over there should be natural products. The more raw, the better. That comes from potatoes, onions, tomatoes, um, honey. Honey's real good. Ginger, things like that. Because for some reason, we wait to be sick to eat right. You know what I mean? And that don't make no sense to me. Because if you eat your food like it's medicine, then you won't have to eat your medicine like it's food. You know, if you eat soup when you have a fever, why don't you eat a soup when you don't have a fever? If you eat, let's just say, if you drink tea, honey with ginger tea, when you are, sick or under the weather, why don't you just do it when you're healthy? Because the best way to not have a disease is if you prevent it. In Morphoneogenesis, we have actually a service in which we just give, um, it's called holistic nutritional guidance. And over there, we don't even give diets to people. We just give a grocery list of things they have to buy, and then we give them full recipes, two, three recipes every week. So they know not only what to eat, but how to prepare them by themselves. I don't actually trust. There's nothing wrong with eating outside, but I don't actually trust when I go outside and buy things in a restaurant or in a fast food restaurant because I don't really know how much sodium, how much sugar. I don't even know the quality of their ingredients. And it's like I'm superstitious or anything. It's just like we need to be careful what we put in our body because our body is the only thing we will have for the rest of our life. So if you messed it up, you you have to keep going with whatever state is your body. And the part that we don't talk about in society is that chronic diseases doesn't have any cure. If you have diabetes, you're gonna die having diabetes. If you get hypertension, you're gonna die having hypertension. If you get cancer, you're gonna die having cancer. And that's a really dangerous thing. So we should be really careful with what we eat, when we eat it, and how much are we eating. So to summarize, if it comes from nature, eat it. If it comes from the man of the hand of a man, question it. Just just be careful because I know it's cool to go to McDonald's and everything, but you don't really know what is over there. America is the only place when you're gonna go and buy a bread and there is more than 200 ingredients. In my country, a bread could be made with 4 ingredients. And that make you think, why do they need that much ingredients? Because they want it to be cheaper, because they want it to produce it in mass, because they want you to get addicted to it. So that's why I personally don't eat no bread, no pasta, no rice. Because the rice from my country is not the same rice as here. The bread from my country is not the same as here. So when I eat the same things I used to eat in my country here, I actually get sick. But when I don't eat it and I keep myself exercising, I barely get sick. Don't have headaches, don't have insomnia, don't even feel stressed. So that's something that we need to keep in mind by the time we go to, buy some food or try to eat food or prepare food.
So now let me ask you, what are some of the risks that come health wise when you're eating? sugary products that include, this corn syrup, or includes all this like man-made sugars that are not real. They're other than addiction to the product. What are some of the health risks that come with that?
Man, there is so many risks. It is just incredible. We will have to make another podcast for this. Well, let me just put it simple. The amount of sugar you accumulate in your body will create a new disease no matter what. If you have a lot of sugar in your heart, it will give you a coronary artery disease, and that will eventually give you a heart attack. If you have a lot of sugar in your pancreas, you get diabetes type 2. If you have a lot of sugar in your brain, if you are old, this gives you Alzheimer or dementia. And if you are a kid, it gives you ADHD. I know also adolescents can get ADHD. If you have a lot of sugar in your eyes, then you get glaucoma and you become blind eventually. If you have a lot of sugar in your arteries, you can get atherosclerosis. So it's just depending where the sugar is. And it's not even the problem with the sugar, but also what happened after. So we do know that when you have high blood sugar, your body releases insulin. We all know that. What they don't tell you is how insulin get rid of the sugar in the bloodstream. When insulin is released by the pancreas, the sugar try to store that sugar. The insulin try to store that sugar in your muscles and your liver, but there is just so much space that it can take. Once it doesn't have more space, it's just gonna convert it into fat. And that's why having a lot of sugar in your body can make you fat. Not only that, that fat accumulates in the center viscerally. Because if you only have fat in your arms, in your legs, in your neck, technically it's okay. You're metabolically healthy because you can just burn that fat pretty easy. But when the fat gets into your lungs, liver, heart, all of these vital organs, you have a lot of problems. That's why it was so funny for me when I heard that COVID-19 killed 5 million people. That's not 100% true. Those people were lazy. Those people were not moving. Those people were eating a lot of junk food, high fructose sugar um, food. And the amount of things they did, it was just enough for the buyers to just go there and finish the job. But most people during COVID times, the COVID pandemic, they died because of their diet and their exercise. And that also affects your mental health. It is so funny how nobody talks about the depression rates going up or the suicide rates going up. And if they would have, you know, tried to investigate into that, they would notice that food has a lot to do with this. The same as no exercising. But they won't talk about that because they don't make money. It is better to just give them antidepressant drugs instead of telling them, hey, maybe you feel like that because you have a lot of sugar in your brain that's messing up your hormones and your brain chemistry. Maybe if you go outside and let the sun to hit you in the face, you can produce more vitamin D, which is well proven to prevent, treat, and rehab people with depression.
You just stole my next question there, because I was gonna ask that. I was gonna ask how like this sugars and stuff can relate to depression and mental illness, but you answered that. So I have another question, which is
I'm
related.
sorry.
No, no, you're right. I love when people do that. I love when people just answer the question without me having to ask it. So what are alternatives to this, sugary beverages? Not just the beverages, what are alternatives to this sugar consumption, this fake sugar consumption in this country? What are alternatives to this awful like foods? I know you mentioned, making your own foods at home. Some people don't have the capabilities or they're not experts. And I know we mentioned farmers markets or even going to the Amish country and buying it in their, in bulks from them. But what are better options an everyday person can change? Like, what can I replace sugar with that is a healthy alternative? What can I replace like the regular like salt that I buy at the store that is cheaper, but it's definitely going to cause more damage? What are the like alternatives for this that are better and healthier?
So before we address that, let's just think about what do we need the sugar for? 'Cause some people eat it for nutritional things. Some people eat it because they would just like the taste. Some people eat it because they are stressed. So if you want sugar for the purpose of nutrition, you actually don't need that much. You can always use honey or fructose, which comes from fructose or fructose for fruits. I'm sorry. um, you can always try things that are naturally sweet, like yam, sweet potatoes. There are many fruits that are really sweet, like banana, mango, etc. And also, when you eat, you need to think about what does your body need, not what do you feel like eating. That's why, again, in Morphoneogenesis, we have a specific service dedicated to the orientation and guidance of nutrition. Because nutrition is not a diet that you do to lose weight and then you're good. Nutrition is a lifestyle, something that you need to change. And if you are always hesitating in what do I need, you can always get a blood test. Every time you go to the emergency room, they do something called BMP, which is basic metabolic panel. That gives you a lot of information. Just with some blood that they take out, they can know how much sugar you have, how your electrolytes are doing, everything. Your sodium, if it's high or low. If you want to get deeper, you can get a lipid panel and it will tell you everything about your fat. It's going to tell you how much cholesterol you have, if it's LDL or HDL, so bad cholesterol versus good cholesterol. It can tell you about your fatty acids, your triglycerides. So getting tested is the first step to know what you need. And once you identify what you need, that's when you look for an expert, like a nutritionist or a dietitian or me. And we will tell you, well, I personally don't like to give diets, as I said. I would rather give you recipes that are culturally acceptable, that comes from either the Hispanic culture or the Asian culture or the Italian culture. And I give you the ingredients. And it actually is not that hard to cook if you know what you're doing because cooking is like chemistry. You just need to know at what rate, at what temperature, and what you do. For example, something I do when I don't have time. Let's just say I gotta go to the gym, but I want to eat something before, and I have to take a shower. You can actually get a sweet potato, a big one. You don't even have to clean it or anything. Put it in the microwave for like 5 minutes, and then put two, three eggs. Put it in the oven with some water, no oven, sorry, stove, with some water in the pot, and put it in middle, maybe high fire, I don't know, and go to take a shower. By the time you're out, you have eggs, you have sweet potatoes, you can eat it. That's really fulfilling. It's really tasty, and then you can go to the gym and burn those calories, and then you're gonna have a good digestion. Maybe when you come back, you want to poop, and then to replace the protein that you lost, you can just get some avocado, tomato, and the toast and eat it. You will be good. So the thing with the sugar is people who are addicted to sugar, and it's really hard to let it go. Of course, you have to do it progressively. They just don't know what to eat because they were trained by this society, this consumer society of America, to always buy hot, junk, fast food every time they were hungry. And I think that if you educate yourself enough under the guidance of an expert, of course, that really cares about your health, not the money you have, but your health, you will make significant changes. I know a lot of people that they were suffering from really serious chronic diseases, and in about 2 3 weeks, they were feeling amazing. Because you, at the end of the day, you just are like what you eat. And if you're not eating right, you are not right. So I always tell people you have to begin with something basic. You don't have to be thinking about gourmet, fancy things. No, it's just simple. You can also go home, grab some lettuce, grab some tomatoes, some cucumbers, cut it, put a little bit of lime and salt, and that's it. You have a salad. You want protein, you get some tuna packets or canned tuna or whatever. Make sure it's water, no oil. Just put it on top. It's a highly protein and fiber meal. It's really fulfilling. You don't need soda. Sometimes you don't even need juice. You just need to eat right. And I understand it's really hard to go against something you've been doing for so long. If you are accustomed to eat McDonald's every day, I guarantee you're not gonna just let it go. It's gonna take you a couple weeks because your body's also accustomed to that junk food. You have to be progressively stopping eating until you don't need it anymore.
All right, and I wanted to share really quick, before I ask you the last question here, I want to share a little bit about Morphoneogenesis, which is the business that Leon runs. Pretty much, it helps people. Morphoneogenesis, it's an online fitness platform, pretty much, and it's not like your everyday or everybody else's like platform, because this one it works based on evidence. They go with exercise prescriptions and other techniques that are exercise based, and they're dedicated to empowering individuals through evidence based practice, personalization. So, this plan is personalized to your persona, to your fitness, and your everyday life. And you can find more at morphoneogenesis.com. And I will also link that in the show notes. You'll be able to see if you want to find more about that. But I will let Liana now to finish and ask you, is there anything you like to add? Anything you like to share more information about? Or anything you just want to go on for?
About the company.
The company, the conversation, anything you like.
Well, let's talk about a little bit of the company. I put a new feature because I noticed that some people, even though we attempt a lot to have a good relationship with our patients, students, and clients, I know some people were wondering if they can have a private personal virtual consultation. I had a new feature in the webpage in which you can book a 1 hour session with me and ask me all the questions that you want. And I did this because sometimes I know how frustrating it is. For example, in the medical field, when you have a meeting with your doctor, and then you have to wait like 2 months to see it again. And that's really sad. That's really messed up that the healthcare system of America, it runs a lot into bureaucracy and money, and they don't really care. I feel, this is just my opinion, that they don't really care about the clients, the patients. They look at them like more like money makers. Because if it's not you that is paying it, is it insurance that is paying it? And at the end of the day, I think the human life is more valuable than any money. That's why I try really hard to keep every price that I put morphoneogenesis accessible to the minority population. So that's one thing. Moving forward to the topic, I want to say that we are all responsible of our own health, and we are the owners of our own life. However, I do understand that for some social, cultural, or environmental circumstances, we messed up because we just don't know better at that time. When I came to America, like 7 or 8 years ago, I used to, just like Juan was saying, I used to eat healthy, not because I knew about nutrition. It's just that the food of my country was a little bit better in terms of freshness and the nutritional value. When I tried to eat the same way here, I got extremely sick. And then COVID happened and I got sick again. And it was not until I began to study the human body that I understood what was needed and what wasn't. So I always encourage everybody that if you don't know something, please educate yourself. Ask for an expert. Read books, read research. Don't believe anything you see on Google, Instagram, Wikipedia. Just do your own research and you will find the truth at the end of the day. Because regardless of what they say or what they want you to believe, you can always investigate and get your own data. And I say that to everybody. If you don't believe me in anything I said, I can give you the links of the research. I can show you the books. I can refer you to a professor or to another medical doctor that has more experience than me, because I don't want to be viewed as the other one who knows. I think everybody should know.
All right. So with that, I appreciate you for joining me today. Thank you so much. I will link the social medias for Morphoneogenesis and the website in the show notes of this episode. You'll be able to see and investigate more. But if you want to follow them, you can also go to Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. They are NMNG on the undercolon, and it'll be LLC. So you'll be able to find them through that and social media, and you'll be able to communicate to and see all the other information that they have to share. And if you have any other questions, again, you can visit morphoneogenesis.com, which it will also be linked in the show notes. Until then, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back soon with a new episode of Político with Juan Collado Díaz. If you like what you're hearing, you can follow us on Instagram at @politicalpod. Or if you want to see the show notes for this episode and all other episodes, you can go to www.politicopod.com. This and all episodes of Político are part of the Inquisitor Media Originals.